should you know about how to live a better life? And I can tell you I'm an expert in this because I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. In fact, Einstein said that making mistakes is what made him great. And Edison is famous for saying that when he spent lots of time working on the light bulb and failed thousands of times, one reporter asked him, how does it feel to fail, over 1,000 times at this? And Edison said, I haven't failed 1,000 times. I've successfully found 1,000 ways to not invent the light bulb. So anytime you encounter what you would think of as a failure or mistake in your life or in the lives of others, even better if we can learn from others as well along our journey of life. Anytime you make a mistake or you view something as a failure in your life, learn from that mistake. And then your life will be that much richer and you'll be that much better off. If we learn from our mistakes, I believe you'll find that it was always worth the price. For example, if I were to study for a test just by rereading the text and not going over my notes, and I were to do poorly on that test, I would then learn that that is an inefficient way to study for me. And next test, I would try something else. I might skim the text and read my notes and maybe join a study group, and that might work better for me. I might do poorly on that one test, but on every test after that, I will do better because I know that that is not a good way for me to study prior to a test. Mistakes are always worth the price if we learn from them. So, here's a lesson primarily for the men, but women, this affects you too. Always wear a belt. I can't tell you how many times I've rushed out of the door saying, oh, I don't need a belt, even though fashionably belts are in. But I just thought to myself, I don't have time for a belt, I don't need a belt. And I would end up running to catch the bus, running to go to class, running to get somewhere. I would hustle because I was already late at the time. The problem with hustling when you're not wearing a belt is that your pants fall down. So many times I would end up running for the bus, one hand reaching back trying to hold up my shorts as I waddled to the bus stop, waving my arms, trying to get the bus on time. Had I spent that extra 5 seconds putting on the belt, not only would I look cooler, but my pants would have been at my waist, where they belong. So I can't stress it enough. Wear a belt. I still have to remind myself of this. I still try to go around sometimes without one. I have to remind myself. I've learned this lesson many times. I've made the mistake many times, and I've finally forced my subconscious mind to acknowledge that I need to wear a belt all the time. So, men, wear a belt. Women, if your pants are a little bit loose around the waist, wear a belt. You will be happy, especially if you have to hustle your buns to go get somewhere. Lesson number 2, listen more than you speak. Listen more than you speak. Now this is huge. This is critical. This is something people of all ages, children especially, and those people who believe they know it all, can apply this immediately, and you'll see tremendous benefit in your lives. Now, as someone who is in a one-way communication with you for right now, I'm going to open up the phone lines in a minute because I want to hear from you. But for right now, I'm doing the talking. I'm really not learning all that much. You, who are listening, are doing the learning. And in conversations, when I get to listen to others speak, I am learning because I'm intaking information. But when I'm speaking, I'm not really learning. I'm just getting something off my chest, or I feel like I have to make a point, or for whatever reason, I have to talk in groups and so forth, or in class, and I have to make a point and raise my hand. It is when we listen and pay full attention to the person who is talking, that is when we learn the most. That is the most valuable thing. In business school class with Professor Doggett, who is one of the finest professors at the business school, in my opinion, he said, listening is the most important thing we can do. Talking is one of the very least important. If you are a wonderful listener, people will really respect you because not only do we learn when we listen, but we also honor and pay tribute to the person speaking. if you were in the studio with me and you were speaking and I made eye contact with you and I gave you my full attention, my body was turned towards you and I was nodding, maybe I was writing a few notes, or I was showing you that I was really engaged and hanging on your every word, you would feel great. We feel great when people pay attention to us and really listen to us. So listen more than you speak. If you're a child, I know it's hard. It's really hard not to pipe up every time you see something or notice something and tell your parents what just happened. But when you listen, you really intake more. And if you're somewhat, how shall I say it? I'll just put it, arrogant person. I was a very arrogant person in my early 20s, and I was throughout most of my mid-20s, even up until about last year. I finally took a humble pill and learned that I'm not the greatest thing since sliced bread. But prior to that, I really had trouble listening because I thought I knew all the answers. And the more that I learn, the more I see that I really do not have all the answers. In fact, I don't have most of the answers. I'm still learning. As Michelangelo said at the age of 80, I am still learning. He was, in my opinion, the greatest artist who ever lived. So if Michelangelo is still learning at the age of 80, wherever you are in your life, you can certainly still be learning. And the best way to learn is listen. So listen more than you speak. When you start late, it is a bad signal for what is to come. For example, today I went to a leadership workshop, a great workshop put on at the LBJ school by a friend of mine, Miha. It was about strength-based leadership, and I'm going to get into that in a little while. I got there about 3 minutes late, and I was expecting it to already be started. It wasn't, and I was a little bit put off by that, so I opened up my computer, started checking email to make use of the time before we got started. For 10 minutes, I checked email. Nothing really important in there, but I just sorted it and kind of tried to get through the junk mail. 10 minutes I waited for that workshop to start. And it wasn't until a very time-oriented person behind me said, "Excuse me, are we going to start soon?" that the presenter said, "Yes," and then we started about 3 minutes after that. He said that we were waiting for some people. Unfortunately, people are late in society. I was late today, but I was willing to accept the consequences for being late and missing the opening of the workshop. People are late or oftentimes don't show up to things that they sign up to do or say they will do. That's just the fickle nature of society today, unfortunately. When someone is not there on time, start whatever you are doing on time. It is disrespectful to people who showed up on time to not be there, to not begin on time. It's a waste of their time, them waiting for these other people who are late to show up. If they're late, they need to pay the consequences, and that is they miss whatever happened when it started on time. So out of respect for yourself and those who are attending whatever workshop, seminar, or class you're in, start on time. And if it's leaving your house for work or to meet somebody, start on time. And in reality, if you can, leave early. That way you can enjoy the drive. When you leave early, you allow yourself a few extra minutes to drive a little bit more slowly, a little bit more cautiously, and enjoy the ride. When we're late, we're oh so stressed. We got our hands gripped tight across the wheel. We're darting in and out of traffic. We're slamming on our brakes just before we hit the car in front of us, and we're gunning it to make that yellow light so that we can get to wherever we're going on time. That is not an enjoyable way to drive. And just being a few minutes late hinders us from enjoying that 10 or 20 minutes in our car. If we're on time, we can play some relaxing music, whatever we like to listen to. We can play an audio program. We can play a vocabulary builder. You can work on your Spanish, your Mandarin, or your English vocabulary in the car. And it can be an enjoyable experience if you have the time during your drive. If you're late because you left late, you don't get to enjoy your car ride because we all get stressed when we're late. Let's be honest. It's human nature. So do yourself a favor. Start everything on time. Leave for work or to meet somebody on time, or if you can, a little bit early, and really enjoy that car ride. Make that car ride valuable time for you. Either use it to improve your mind, to relax, or to enjoy some music or news, or heck, tune into KVRX during your drive and listen to some music you're not going to hear anywhere else, or some local community programming. When I say the words local community programming, I feel obligated to remind you that everything said during this hour is solely my opinion. It's the opinion of Dr. Love, not of KVRX, the University of Texas, the state of Texas, the city of Austin, Travis County, the United States, or the United Nations. It is only my opinion, so everything I say, only hold it against me and nobody else. So, just to review, the 3 life lessons we got so far. Number 1, always wear a belt. Number 2, listen more than you speak. Number 3, start everything on time. And when you're going somewhere, leave on time. Number 4, do what is most important. Now this varies greatly from person to person. Another way to say this is prioritize. Sadly, what most people do in business and most people do in their regular lives is do lots of little insignificant things and spend our time doing those things and doing them well. And the big things, the important things, the things that really matter in our lives, we put those off. We don't do those for whatever reason. The timing's not right. We're not in the right frame of mind. We don't have the right resources at our fingertips. We're tired. Whatever reason we want to come up with, we don't do those important things. Instead, we do the trivial, insignificant things all day long. What happens after years and years and years of doing the trivial and insignificant things and putting off and ignoring the critical, the crucial, the most important things? It's as different as night and day. If the crucial and most important things in your life are your spouse, your family, your close relationships with your friends and family, if you're putting off working on those things to work on the trivial, my goodness, your life is going to be in a very different place in a few years. We have to know what is most important to us and then put that as the priority in our lives. If you are married or you are engaged or you're in a very close romantic relationship, your partner hopefully is a big part of your life and is a priority for you. Not necessarily the top priority, but should certainly be in the top 3. If you're not prioritizing the important things in your life, you're going to put them off and they're going to be subject to the whims of whatever's going on in your life. And we all know that things happen in our lives that cause us to change our schedules, but we always have to keep in mind what is most important. If your wife or your husband is most important, make that your priority. Showing love for that person, caring for that person, doing nice things for them, being that cooking them dinner, buying him or her a little present, bringing home a flower. I've had girls bring me flowers. Flowers are nice no matter what sex you are. Writing them a little note or shooting them a text saying, I love you, I miss you, I care about you, I long for you, you are beautiful. Just saying things like this can make all the difference in someone's day. And it takes so little time. But we often forget to do it because it's not our priority. It's not the most important thing in our minds. All we need to do is write it down on our list of priorities and keep it close to the top. Make sure you send that text or make that quick call or smile at your partner when you come in the door and tell him or her how much you love them. And it'll make all the difference in the world. If you're single, what's your priority? Is it your work? If your work's your priority, you should be working hard on your work and know what part of your work is the most important. It's probably not checking email and answering the phone, unless you're a receptionist or you work at customer service. It's probably working on projects and getting things done. If you prioritize checking email over working on your projects, you're going to check email a lot more frequently and you're going to spend a lot more mental energy doing that than doing what is most important to your job. So prioritize, know what is most important to you in whatever facet of your life, and do that thing first and devote the most time and energy to that thing, and you will notice a world of difference in your life. Now this isn't easy. This is hard. I'm working on this in my life. And I have to remind myself frequently, Dr. Love, what is your priority? What are you working on? What are you trying to accomplish? Why are you checking email again? You just checked it an hour ago. Why are you trying to organize those papers? That's not important. Just put them aside and continue your reading, or continue this project you're working on, continue this paper. Focus on what you're doing. Know where you're trying to go, know what you're trying to do, and do it when that is your priority. Prioritize those things and do that thing, and don't get caught up in the little trivial things that happen in our lives. So as a review, number 1, always wear a belt. Number 2, listen more than you speak. Number 3, start everything on time and leave your house or office or house to go to the office on time. Number 4, do what is most important. Number 5, the 80-20 rule. Most of us in business have heard about this. If you're an undergraduate, maybe you've heard about this. The 80-20 rule says that whoever you are, whatever you do, in general, 80% of the results you produce in your life are from 20% of the effort you expend. In line with doing what is most important, prioritizing, is that you need to know what part of your effort is producing 80% of the production. Where do you make money in your business? If you're a salesman, it's when you make a sale. Now, you do lots of things, like you check emails, you make sales calls, you try to generate leads, you call prospects, you attend training seminars, you go to the office and you talk with other salesmen. But what makes you money? Making a sale. When you're ear to ear with a client or face to face with a client, you make the sale. That is the 20% that you do that yields 80% of the profits. In fact, if you're a salesman, it likely yields all your profits if you're not salaried, if you're just on commission. If you're a student, what do you do that is responsible for 80% of the production that you produce? Maybe it's time you spend studying in the library. You might study in the coffee shop with friends, but that's more of a socializing time. Maybe it's attending class and reviewing your notes before and after class. Maybe that's the 20% you do that you really, really learn. Maybe it's this quiet time you spend in your room writing your paper late at night. Whatever it is, identify the 20% most productive thing, the little thing that you do that produces the most results in your life. The 20% you do that produces 80% of the results. Identify that and devote more time and more energy to that. And you will see a dramatic growth in your personal and professional life. You can even apply this to your personal life. What do you do that yields 80% of the happiness for your spouse or your family? Maybe it's one thing. Maybe it's sitting down to dinner with your family. Maybe that's the best way to show your family love and what they appreciate it. Maybe it's reading a bedtime story to your child. Maybe that's what is very most important to your children. So do more of that. Whatever is yielding the greatest results, the greatest productivity, do more of that. If you think about it for about 10 or 20 minutes, you can probably find in your life what is responsible for 80% of your profits, 80% of your production. Look for it, find it, and do more of that. So, let's review the top 5, and then I'm going to ask you to call in and lay some knowledge on Dr. Love. I want this to be a two-way communication tonight. I want to learn from you. I want to listen to you and find out how I can lead a better life based upon your experiences and your mistakes. So, number 1, wear a belt. Number 2, listen more than you speak. Number 3, start everything on time. Number 4, do what is most important. Prioritize. Number 5, remember the 80-20 rule. 80% of what you produce is produced in 20% of the time you spend at work. Find that activity that yields that 80% and do more of it. Before the break, I asked you to call in and let me know about some life lessons you have learned. Maybe some mistakes you've made in the past that we all could learn from. Maybe you had too much to drink one time and were pulled over, and you allowed the cop to search your car, and he found something he shouldn't have found. And now you know not to let police search your car. Maybe you sent an angry email after you had too much to drink. Or maybe you were just angry and decided to fire it off instead of letting it sit for 10 minutes and reread it once you've calmed down. Maybe you lost your job over that. And you learned the value of never sending out an emotional email while your emotions run high. Never communicate when your emotions are really high, unless you're excited. People love to hear from exciting, passionate, enthusiastic people. Hearing people Groan, complain, and whine is not something anybody enjoys. It's really not beneficial communication. People will tune you out. And emails and communication written to people where you whine and complain and are emotional in a negative way is almost always received in a negative way and reflects negatively on whoever sent that negative communication. So, do not send out emotional emails or texts or make calls when you're in a heightened emotional state unless you're really happy, because people don't want to hear it and it reflects poorly on you, especially in the work and professional environment. Here's a great tip from some of the wealthiest people in the world. I'm talking Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and the late Steve Jobs. They were all asked, what is the most important ingredient to success? What have you done that has allowed you to achieve such high levels of success? All three of them had one word to say about it: focus. Focus. In whatever you are trying to accomplish in your life. Maybe you are trying to attain spiritual enlightenment and share that with others. Maybe you have an invention or a product that will revolutionize the industry, that will help people live better lives, help people save money, lead more efficient lives. Maybe you have an exercise or an exercise revolution that will change the way people exercise. Zumba is one of these things. Zumba is taking over the country. It is a dance fitness exercise that is fun, that people love to do, and gives them a great workout. Exercise wasn't really fun until Zumba. It's changed the way that we exercise, and we'll continue to do that. Maybe you have something like that. Maybe there's a food or a food product that you have invented or created, a recipe that you have that is healthy and delicious. And all you need to do is mass produce your idea and share it with others. Or maybe you are a parent, and the most important thing to you is your child and his or her future. Maybe that's what you should be focusing your energy and attention on. Giving your child the love and attention he or she needs to grow up in this confusing world. Focus. Know what you want to accomplish and focus on it. When we disperse our energy like a light bulb, light shines everywhere. But when we focus our energy like a laser, we can cut through anything. We can do anything. Focus your attention like a laser. Now, what did Bill Gates get with focus? He built the most successful software company in history, and on the way became the richest man in the world. What did Warren Buffett get with his focus on making money? What was his job? His job was investing. He bought companies that he knew would make money, and he made money. He didn't produce anything except wealth for his investors. What did he get? Well, he became the most successful investor in the world and became the richest man in the world for a time. What did Steve Jobs get for his focus? His focus changed, but when he did something, he focused on it. He created the most successful animation studio outside of Walt Disney in history. He created Pixar, which then sold to Disney for 25% of Disney's stock. Steve Jobs owned more stock in Disney than the Disney family because of his creation, Pixar. Steve Jobs created the personal computer. He created the iPhone, the iPod, the iMac, the cloud, where all of our data is stored. These are creations of Steve Jobs and his focus on things. When he rejoined Apple, he immediately got rid of projects he knew didn't make sense. One of these was the Newton. The Newton was a Palm Pilot that you could write on, handwriting, that would turn that handwriting into text. Now, The Simpsons had a great parody on this. They said, hey, take a note in your Newton, beat up Martin. And he handwrote, beat up Martin. And the Newton turned that into eat at Martha's. So the Newton didn't work, and Steve Jobs thought it was garbage, and he canceled working on it. Even though they invested millions into the Newton, he said, get rid of it, it's garbage, we're going to focus on a few things and do them well. So in your life, pick the most important things in your life and focus on them. Get rid of the rest. Now I'd like to play you a clip from who I believe is the most wonderful bass player in history. His name is Jaco Pastorius. Most of us have never heard of him. He did one thing in his life. He played the bass. He played a fretless bass so he could move faster. In fact, speed of his bass was so important that he would eat fried chicken before he would play the bass, so his fingers were slick with the grease. And he could slide up and down the neck of the bass faster than anybody else. Sadly, Jaco Pastorius developed a habit of methamphetamine, and he ended up dead in a gutter after getting into a fight with a bouncer. He died quite early in life, but he focused on one thing, and that was playing the bass guitar. And I think once you hear Jaco Pastorius' bass, you will recognize what 30 years of focus can do.